Yo, it has been quite a long time since I've made one of these videos, but it's that time of year again, school starting, so I need stuff for Cass. I was supposed to be doing stuff over summer, but I didn't really do anything, I went on a lot of vacations, hanging out with friends, etc., etc., but I did have some time to watch some things. I wanted to make this first video about Spider-Man Brand New Day, Superman, and Supergirl, because DC versus Marvel always been a thing for a long time, and I know all those movies were quite popular, of course. Okay, here we go. It's been a bit. I loved Spider-Man Brand New Day, and everyone does. It was an amazing movie. Most people are saying it is the best Spider-Man movie ever. Honestly, maybe, yeah. My favorite Spider-Man before was Andrew Garfield. I thought he was cool, really great character, great actor. But I did like Tom Holland quite a bit, mostly because of his dynamic with Iron Man. Iron Man's such a cool character, and I love his suits, and I love the suit he gave Spider-Man. It's great, but Marvel had been down in the dumps, after Endgame for a little while. I like Shang-Chi, and I like the Blue Beetle. I thought those were both great movies, but other than that, they hadn't really been putting out anything good. But then we got Spider-Man Brand New Day, and this was a breath of fresh air. Absolutely incredible movie. Dare I say, perfect. I mean, I don't really think there was a ton of what you could have changed to make this movie better for what it is. Some people were mad about the supervillain. She wasn't a supervillain, but the antagonist. Some people were mad about it because she wasn't a direct villain or whatever. No actual villain, because she was just misunderstood, and she wasn't from the main Spider-Man villains either. And I could see why. As far as her not being like an actually evil, cruel villain, I don't really see a problem with that. But I could understand why people didn't like that she wasn't one of the main Spider-Man villains, and we didn't really get to see that. But introducing the X-Men characters, I think it's fine. I thought the movie was incredible. The acting was amazing. Everyone did their part so well, even like small roles. Like that one dude that Spider-Man ran into on the street. His little monologue he had, that was incredible acting. I don't even remember his name, but it was great. And the reason why I wanted to put these movies beside each other was because, honestly, I didn't enjoy Superman or Supergirl. I know that might be a hot take. Superman was one of the most hyped movies of the year, and honestly, I thought it was mid. Let me keep it buck. And just to preface before we continue, I've never been like a Snyder head. He definitely had his moments. Superman versus Batman was an amazing movie. It was really cool to see them match up against each other. And, he had some good visual effects, but I do understand, all the hate. Some of the movies were just not high quality. CGI problems, acting issues, Gal Gadot sucked. What's that dude's name? Whoever plays the Flash sucked. I mean, Aquaman, Jason Momoa didn't do the greatest job either. Superman wasn't comic accurate, which is what pisses everyone off apparently, but I mean, I thought Clark, I thought, what even is the actor's name? I don't remember, but I thought he did a good job acting for what he was given, And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with having this dark, edgy kind of feel that everybody complains about, you know, like, oh, this is such edgelord stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking the DC universe in that direction and going for something that's a little bit different than the comics. I do understand that it does go away from the characterization of Superman a bit, you know, making him less nerdy and more serious, and at times not caring for people as much as he should, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think that was the main problem, you know? I think a lot of people tend to shit on stuff for having too much cool or hyper aura moments. And like, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. Like, you can have your pieces of fiction that are really well written and thought out and thought provoking. And you can have your comedies, and you can have your horror films, and you can have romance, and you can have your films that are just cool. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I love anime, and I think a lot of people hate on JJK and call it action slop and fight slop and hype slop and aura slop for no reason. Because at the end of the day, it's still a great story with great characters, and yeah, it has its flaws. But there's nothing wrong with fights being good or characters being cool. It's something that's difficult to emulate. I mean, take a look at Solo Leveling, right? It has its moments where it's cool, but it gets to a point, you know? It doesn't hit anymore. It sucks because there's no stakes, because we know this character is going to win, and because he's doing the same BS over and over and over again. Same one-liners, same deep voice. It's something that does take talent to create, you know? Regardless, again, I'm not glazing Snyder here. He definitely had plenty of bad movies. Only a few bangers, in my opinion. I don't even remember all the movies, to be honest. It's been a while. But, yeah, really bad, honestly. He sucked. He started throwing pretty quickly. But, you know, everybody's looking for a savior for the DC universe. And, you know, it had its moments. But towards the end, it started to, you know, be bad. I'm not trying to, you know, diss him too hard. He definitely didn't do terrible. But, everybody's looking for the savior for the DC universe. And we get James Gunn, right? I think. Right, is it James Gunn who did it? I don't know. Is he the director? Actually, I do want to check really quick. One sec. But yeah, so we look to James Gunn. Yeah, it's James Gunn. And he takes hold of DC. And honestly, I just think it's recency bias, and everybody either already hating Snyder or hopping on the hate train for Snyder that is making people enjoy the James Gunn movies so much. Because, in my opinion, they weren't that good. You know? I mean, okay, I'm not saying Superman is a bad movie. It had its moments. I definitely think the actor portrayed Superman very well and very comic accurately. The visual effects were great. The fight scenes were also pretty good. They made sense. It didn't feel like Superman was holding back for an unnecessary reason, or going against someone who should be weaker than him and getting destroyed, which happens to characters at times. It looked great, again, right? But I feel like it wasn't super well written. It doesn't have to have amazing writing, but you can tell, right? Like, I feel like whenever somebody says something isn't well written, a lot of people start pointing fingers, and they're like, oh, well, it's a superhero movie. You know, we're not looking for some incredible revolutionary style of writing here. But if you compare Superman to Spider-Man Brand New Day, it is a massive difference. The acting quality, the writing, and even the special effects, which I just said Superman was doing a great job at, it's better. It's every aspect feels better. It feels well crafted. It feels skillful, right? And acting and writing is an art form, are art forms, right? And I just feel like Superman, the movie, just didn't have as much talent in it. And that might be a hot take. Again, I think Superman, whoever was acting him, did a great job, but not an extraordinary job. But again, I don't think he really had much to work with. He did his script well, he portrayed the character well, he did a great job. But it didn't hit, you know? I didn't feel it. And then a lot of people were saying they left the theater with a strong sense of hope for humanity, and they felt good about themselves and happy and fulfilled. I didn't get that at all, you know? And I don't think I really, there was only one time I've ever really felt like a sense of hope and like goodness in my heart after seeing a movie or a form of media. Well, actually, no, that's not true. There's been sometimes, but the most prominent moment I could think of was when I finished Vinland Saga. That was arguably a perfect story in my books. It was incredibly well written and a beautiful anime. But when I left the Superman film, I didn't feel really anything. I was just like, it's kind of cool. I mean, like, the soundtrack, okay, well, no. The soundtrack was alright. But, it wasn't outstanding. You know, and I feel like when you try to go for these emotions like that, you need an outstanding soundtrack. Or you need outstanding writing or outstanding acting. You can't have none of them, right? At least have one, preferably two. And the greatest scene in this whole movie that everybody was hyping up and that I was constantly seeing clips of on my For You page and having to swipe by because I didn't want to get spoiled, where he confronts Lex Luthor and he tells him, you know, I'm an alien. I don't remember exactly what it said. It's been a while, but he's talking about how he may be an alien, but he's just as human as the rest of us, and he's been living on Earth for forever, and you know he's human. I mean, and I don't know if he said, you know, like, we're all human, we all make mistakes or whatever or some shit, but. And I know, like, me saying this and not remembering the speech may make it seem like, oh, what does he know? You know, he can't even remember the lines. But, I mean, like, I didn't think that scene was amazing. I'm gonna keep it back. And I can search up the lines right now. Actually, I don't even know what I would exactly search up for that. But it didn't evoke emotion in me. And a lot of people were being like, okay, this isn't just for the movie, this is also a shot at ICE. You know, it's just saying that illegal persons have rights and that they're just as human as the rest of us, you know, aliens. And I'm Latino. I know I don't look it. I look pretty white, but I am 100% Latino. Both of my parents are Mexican. I was born in the US. But, you know, race, right? And I'm very anti-ICE. So I can get behind that, you know. I think that's great if that's what they intended. Who knows if it is. But regardless, you know, it doesn't really matter if a scene is standing up for something if that scene is just not good. Because that's not what the point of a movie is. Unless it is the point of the movie. But regardless, it's not an excuse for poor quality. You can't just be like, oh, I'm protesting against this, so it doesn't matter how poor my work of art is. Superman as a character was alright. I hated Hawkgirl. Thought she was stupid. I actually did like Green Lantern a bit. I thought he was funny. I thought he was a cool dude. Mr. Fantastic was okay. He had some tough one-liners, but didn't really do it for me. And everybody loved Lex Luthor. I think the casting was great. I loved that little rage bait moment he had. But the thing I keep finding again and again and again is the characters feel bland, right? Even as I'm praising them, and I can admit that the casting feels correct and that they emulate the characters well, it doesn't seem to be fully an acting problem, but more so a writing problem, because the characters just didn't feel lively. They felt very bland. I didn't leave the theater feeling anything. And then we move on to Supergirl, and I mean, that's even worse. And this movie didn't get any much praise, and for good reason, right? I mean, Jason Momoa just played a bum-ass character that genuinely added nothing to the plot line. The actress who played Supergirl, I'd say played her well. Again, good casting for her, but still not the most compelling performance ever because of the writing, in my opinion. I do think it was a good performance regardless, though. I think she did do a pretty damn great job. Pretty damn great job is a little bit much, but she did a good job. But there's almost this like sense of like, I can just tell the movie's not going to be good even in the first few seconds. And I felt the same way for Superman. But, you know, I hop in the movie and I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to go in thinking it's going to be bad. So I sit there and I'm like, okay, you know, let's start this thing out. And, you know, there is definitely something charming about Supergirl's like lifestyle of just getting drunk and just being a bum. You know, it's funny, right? And everybody was hyped to see that drunk Supergirl was gonna be what we were seeing. I never kept up with the comics, but I get the hype, I guess, to a certain extent. But the movie just wasn't good. Like, okay, before I just say that, I mean, for one, we follow Supergirl with this other girl that is obnoxious, right? And I get it, she's a kid, she's supposed to be kind of annoying, I'd assume, just by how driven by rage she is or whatever. Kid's an idiot, kid's a dumb nut. But there's just a lot of just like, I don't want to say plot holes, but just like unfulfilled plot lines in the story. Like, for one, okay, why is this girl actively seeking revenge and attempting to kill the man who killed her parents? Why? Right? And I understand some of you are gonna be like, well, duh, I mean, he killed her parents. But she's a little girl, right? Little girl, little guy, I'm not trying to be sexist. Regardless, if it's a child, the child is not gonna just immediately be focused on going to kill this man. They're gonna break down. And you know, she could be a tough kid. She could be a kid who, there's a reason why she behaves like this, right? We don't know why. I mean, the family has a blacksmith. He doesn't know how to fight. His wife doesn't know how to fight. And his son seems too innocent to know how to fight either. He's not from some sort of warrior race, right? And this isn't a huge deal at the end of the day, but it is just one of the many moments that are like, okay, we're just kind of throwing stuff together, which is what I felt like happened. The difference between Supergirl and Superman is that Supergirl doesn't have a problem killing people when she feels like they need to be killed. And I think the movie did a great job of showing that with one of the last scenes when she actually kills the man who is trafficking all those girls. I think that was probably the best written part in the entire movie. It was satisfying. She kept the kid from killing him so that she could stay pure and not be not have to deal with the guilt of that, but she killed him herself because he needed to die, he needed to go. But she's so righteous about this kid not killing him because she's gonna live with it, and we don't know why. Like, why is this such an important thing to her, right? Supergirl begins as this carefree girl who's just, well, not carefree, careless girl who's just getting drunk all the time, just doing whatever she wants because she's sad about her family dying. And that's essentially, from the movie, all we know about her. And maybe there's context I'm missing from the comics, but these movies are supposed to be made for people who enjoy the comics and people who've never seen them before. Marvel does a great job at it. DC has done a decent job at it in the past. It should still be doing a good job of it, right? We don't know, like, did Supergirl kill someone? Is she dealing with the regret of killing someone? Is that why she's so adamant on not allowing this girl to kill this man? Or does she just know that she's gonna live with that trauma and regret? And I understand that that's something that people would know. That's not insanely, like, niche knowledge, but this is something that's just not explained. Supergirl is extremely adamant about stopping this girl from killing that man. That's her entire goal, basically, right? She wants to save everyone, but this is stop. She's like, that's her whole thing. Don't kill him. She keeps telling her over and over again, don't kill him, stop, don't kill him. And, you know, it's like, why? You know, we get a glimpse of her backstory. We see that she had to leave her parents. And I guess maybe that's why. Maybe she feels the guilt of that. Maybe that's what is making her act this way. And in essence, she feels like she betrayed them. She killed them in a way. But, like, you see what I mean? Like, it's empty. It's dumb. It doesn't make sense. And the entire movie feels almost pointless, because this entire expedition she's going on feels like something that she can solve in a matter of seconds because she's Supergirl. She's extremely strong, almost as strong or as strong as Superman, or heck, maybe even stronger, who knows, because she's older than them, right? Yeah, she's older than them. So it's kind of like, why are we messing around here, right? Because, okay, she starts on the red sun, right? So her powers are capped. And I enjoy that. I appreciate that concept, and I feel like that concept could have been held over the movie for a while if we wanted to make her have fair fights and have struggle. That was already something we established. That was a plot point that we had, and it worked. She had to fight that man to get her sword back for the kid, and she did a decent job while still having her powers restricted, but she struggled. But no, we give her her powers, and then we get some BS plot where she goes to a different planet with two suns, one that's going to kill her and one that gives her her powers, and everybody knows what's going to happen. The sun's going to rise, and she's going to get her powers and beat the bad guy. You know, and then this dude is crazy strong for no reason. He has kryptonite arrows for no reason that he doesn't ass pull until the last moments of the movie. And then those arrows don't even do anything because Jason Momoa just pops in. It's a really dumbass movie, you know? And I don't mean to be that guy, but I feel like a lot of the movie was just like misandristic. I don't even know. I've never used that term before, but it was just like men suck, men are evil, men traffic girls. And then they threw Jason Momoa in there to be like the saving grace, you know, like, okay, but men are cool too. And then he was just the most average masculine stereotype ever and added nothing to the plot. It was just in scenes for no reason. Like, why was he in that last scene where she stopped her from killing the dude? And he was like, yeah, rock on. Like, what? And that's what I'm saying. I thought, you know, I was just becoming too, what's the word? I don't know. I thought my taste was just, I can't think of the word, but I thought I just wasn't enjoying movies for no reason. I felt like I was on too much of a high horse. And I was like, maybe I just don't like superhero movies anymore. But then I saw Spiderman, and I thought that movie was perfect. So, you know, that's my opinion. I think James Gunn isn't doing a great job, and I think he's being extremely overhyped. Superman and Supergirl were not good movies. Superman was very bland, very average, and Supergirl was sucky and had a ton of plot holes and just pointless plot devices. But yeah, my phone's gonna die, so I would talk more, but I can't. But yeah, see ya.